And welcome back once again. My name is James Henderson, coming to you live from where else? Houston, Texas. It's not the heart of the bond market, but it is the heart of the financial fluctuation that's going on right now. Well, with oil being at $35 and everything, it's going to be a quite interesting road. So this is a great way for companies to trim off the fat, and life is going to settle down here in a couple years, and we'll be back to normal. Back here in Houston, Texas, the OTC market is booming, and it's going strong. Companies are already starting to look at, what's going to be happening 5 years, 10 years down the road. You got the Woods Group, if you're in the oil market, that are just buying up companies. Halliburton's getting swallowed up. And so the financial district is going to change. Well, that's the good news, because what happens when things change dramatically like they are? Well, startup businesses happen. And now that's where we get into play. And welcome. My name is James Henderson, part of the bondsheets.com website. I am the owner and founder of the company. And I know a lot of creditors were wanting to jump in on a meeting that I had here in Houston yesterday, but the traffic and the flooding and everything like that was an issue. It seems like a lot of people who were buying speaking about the flooding, people were buying all these really nice homes, and for the longest time, they've never got flooded. Well, now they're getting flooded. And what's the reason? Companies are buying up the land where there used to be rice paddies where the water could drain into, and they're building them up, and so other neighborhoods are now getting flooded. So that's the deal with that industry. And but anyways, let's get started. So if you're a creditor, how do I invest in startup companies without losing my principal? Because 1 out of every 8 startups succeeds in today's market. So how do you not get taken down by the 7 companies that are left? Well, that's easy. By going through bondsheets.com, we've indicated a lot of the companies, and we only give money that we can retain under a Chapter 11 and Chapter 13 restructuring. So in other words, the money that we invest in companies is protected by the equity or the IP that we have now taken possession of for the companies to take the money and do what they want to do. And if, on the flip side of things, if you're a creditor and you invested in a company that's successful and it's taking the money that it said it would do, and it's able to pay off the creditors back, you retain your principal and the interest and any coupons that were provided during the deal. So that's good news for creditors. So what about the startup companies that are out there who are wanting to raise capital? Well, that's also very easy. So every company has a little bit of equity. It's either they have a house, they have an RV, they have an IP, they have some sort of equity, even as a startup, that they can retain, they can get money for. And with bondsheets.com, what we do is we take that equity or take the IP, you give it to us, we transfer it into bonds. So we're the middleman in this whole thing. And then we sell it off to the creditors who are looking to have more beer money in today's market. And then once the contract is done, and in about 2, 3, 4 years, when you have to pay back the principal, you pay back the principal and the interest, and then we give you your credit back or your equity back. So you're not out your company's. So in a way, we're better than a venture capitalist because we're not taking equity, and two, you actually get to keep your equity in your company in the long run. So that's the neat thing about it. So let's get started in a few minutes here with the slideshow, and I'm gonna go through all the different ways of raising capital, and then there's our way. So all right, let's get started. So, all right, you're sharing because it's everyone. All right. All right, so raising capital. Everyone knows that there's many different ways to raise capital. There's mom and dad, there's brothers and sisters, there's the VCs, there's the private equity deals, there's the investors, credit cards, and there's bonds. So what are the different ways to raise capital? Well, there's probably 5 or 6 more that I didn't put on here. So mom and dad are a great way to get started in the business. Donald Trump even said he was able to borrow money from his mom and dad. So, but not every mom and dad has the adequate funding that your business needs. In fact, my parents didn't give me the money, but they gave me the knowledge of getting out there and to succeeding. So my dad, instead of giving me cash for a loan, he allowed me to talk to his boss and talk to other people who have been very successful in the area that I wanted to go into. So there's always different ways. There's also the mentorship program at your local university, and of course there's YouTube. YouTube has a wealth of knowledge with mentors just sharing their experience out. There's Kickstarter programs. There's Indiegogo, there's Rocket Hub, there's Fundraiser. Well, if you do a quick research, the problem is with these Kickstarter programs is 60% of all Kickstarter programs fail. And for one reason or the other, I'm not really quite sure why most of them fail, but some of those that have a great idea wind up faltering on the failure side. It's pretty weird. But like I said, you just need to keep doing your research. Even though a project failed at a Kickstarter, there are other ways. There's venture capitalists. Venture capitalists, I get this from the bizjournal.com, and here's some of the 5 top venture capitalist firms in Houston, Texas. Well, the bad thing about venture capitalists is you don't really get to choose who's going to be investing in your company. So, as in one case, I was at Rice University has a great VC program that's out there, and I had this one guy, phenomenal business idea, and he sold his idea to 2 other venture capitalists, which took more than 50% of the company. Well, it wasn't a week later when the venture capitalist finally told him, thank you very much for your idea, but we're going to take over from here, and he lost his business. Well, I'm not sure what happened to what the VCs did to it, but sometimes there are just, some of them are ruthless and some of them are helpful. But you don't really get to pick on which VC gets to work with you because They get flooded with deals every day. Then there's angels investing. The great thing about angel investors are they'll help you get started with the idea to move it forward from the ideal stage to more the written stage. And so when you go into that, I mean, even though that's great and all, but angel investors only invest up to $100,000. On a case-by-case basis, they'll offer more, but most angel investors will only give you up to $100,000, which, depending on your business, is not enough for you to be successful. Then there's credit cards. Well, if you know anything about credit cards, that's 30% interest starting the very next month that you take the money out. Well, if you're anything like me, if you put money into your business, you're not going to see the return on your business until 90, 180, or a year later. So just be careful when you're dealing with credit cards, because that interest rate can wind up taking your company out. And you got corporate bonds. Well, if you're a large company, then you have the equity already in place. But what if you're a startup? You don't have that equity to cover the bonds. Well, now you do. So what bondsheets.com does is we take a look at each case-by-case basis, and we find out where the equity is in your business. And whether or not it's an IP, whether or not you have an RV, or whatever you own. And what we do is we take that either idea or IP, and we turn it into bonds, and then we can sell it off to the creditors. So the nice thing about this is your equity in your company becomes a great way for investors to say, hey, listen, we're interested in investing in your company, and we also know that you got the principal covered. Also the really nice thing about this is once you pay off the creditors, you get all your equity back. It's a win-win situation. So bondsheets.com, we work with startups. We work with, sell equity, for your bonds. We'll even resell bonds that you might own. So whether or not you've got a bond that you can't resell on the SEC market, well, maybe someone else wants to buy it. In fact, the bond market is almost like a used car salesman for the resale market. Let's say you bought a bond at $15 a share. Well, you can resell it, because either you're getting a divorce or something else, and you can sell it at a lower price, and then have that new guy come in and just wait for it to mature. In fact, I know this one bond guy, he made over $20 billion in one day. All of a sudden, there's this one guy who was having a fire sale, needed to get rid of all the bonds. He bought it at a low rate, resold them the next day. It was an amazing deal. So if you're also looking to resell your bonds, then bondsheets.com can do that for you. And well, my name is James Henderson, and if you need to contact me, log on to bondsheets.com and click on contact. So let's take a look at let's take a look at the whole bond sheet deal. Let's share it. So this happens to be the bond sheet website. So let's go click on home. So right now we have two bond companies. Now, if you're a bond company, just log in, fill out the information. Let's see, let's click on Facebook. What that'll do is that'll authorize you to make sure that you're not a scammer. Click on My Company Profile. So this is my information. This is where I'm at, my company logo. And also my bonds that's one of my bonds that I'm selling. So let's click on bonds for sale. Right off the bat, we've got the name of the company that we're selling, and we've got the insurance companies that are holding it. So if you want to see more about the bonds, let's click on on NashvilleRadio.tv. So this is an interesting deal that we're doing, that we can actually, give you the worst case scenario of maybe your company should go this route or not. So NashvilleRadio.tv used to be in business 7 years ago, built up this huge online presentation of interviewing unsigned artists, and then 2 years after that, they sold it at South by Southwest for a really good deal. So then that guy who bought it ran it into the ground, and so the original owners bought the domain name back and now are starting up all over again. Well, they have an RV that's worth over $200,000 because it has a sound equipment studio and it's built inside of it. So right now we've taken that as equity inside of the company, and we're able to offer up $150,000 in bonds. So now with that, they're able to use that money for a sound recording studio that they're wanting to buy. Well, they have the option on it now, and so we've been able to tack that on to the new bond, and we're able to give them up another $300,000 or $2 million on top of that. So we are very careful on how the money's being used. And so if these guys go under, well, we have the building and we have the RV. But in 4 years, if everything is said and done, then they pay back the creditors and they retain all the equity in the RV that they use for collateral. So worst case scenario, they go under. So far, the creditors that have bought into NashvilleRadio.tv will get their money back. Great case scenario is in 4 years, which after I found out who's on their board, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that these guys are gonna succeed. So they've got some very big names, but I just don't want to say who because I'm under a signed contract. So yeah. So when it comes to this, there's a little description about them. It's the corporate type. The coupon's 9%. The maturity will come December 1st, 2020. I'm the insurance company that's holding it, and so we're looking at an annual, so once a year. Whoever will give you a check at 9%, and then in 4 years we're going to give you the principal plus the 9% that we have inside the business. So yeah, and if you're needing more blogs, we have a cloud, a sound cloud that you get speak, hear me speak on different subjects on different matters. There's the About Us page, and then there's the contact page. So if you want to know more about us, just contact me, write me, and that shouldn't be a problem. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. But that's it. So I just want to say thank you very much for allowing me into your home, and for all the investors that missed the presentation last night. This is basically what I said, and I got to get into some more details during the conversation. So, but that's it. Do I have any particular deals that are going to succeed? Yeah, this bond sheet peer-to-peer construction loan project. That's a big deal. Construction companies are going to save at least 45% off the project because of all the fees and that the banks take. Anything else? Oh, I've got about 7 more I need to put up here. So we're growing, and investors are coming in because they can't lose. So, all right. Have a great day, and I'll see you out there on the road. Have a great day, you guys.